Justice just came crashing down on Brittney Griner, and it hit harder than anyone expected. After weeks of controversy, heated debates, and accusations of a cover-up, Karma finally stepped in to deliver a devastating message to Griner and the entire WNBA. What started as a whispered insult on the court quickly spiraled into one of the biggest scandals in the league's history.
Looks to me like she is saying trash and then calling Caitlin Clark a bleep white girl,
leaving Griner's career hanging by a thread. The WNBA tried desperately to sweep this under the rug, but pressure kept mounting. Sponsors began pulling out, and fans refused to let it go. Now, the league's most protected star is facing consequences that could change her future forever.
Brittney Griner was caught on tape during a game with the Indiana Fever, dropping racial slurs against Caitlin Clark, and pretty obviously doing so.
But what exactly happened behind the scenes? And why did the league finally turn against the player it had shielded for years? Let's dive into the shocking truth. The moment of controversy. It all began late in the fourth quarter. Tension was high, the score was tight, and emotions were boiling over. Brittney Griner had just fouled out after a series of heated plays against Indiana Fever's rising star, Caitlin Clark. As Griner left the court, cameras caught something that would ignite a massive firestorm.
Just a reminder, this is who Joe Biden traded for the Russian merchant of death.
Her lips clearly formed words that immediately sparked outrage. Fans flooded social media, speculating, dissecting the footage frame by frame, and debating intensely what she'd actually said. Lip-reading experts quickly joined the discussion, and consensus began to form. According to multiple analyses, Griner appeared to direct a racially charged insult at Clark, calling her trash, followed by a reference to her skin color. This wasn't just any insult. It was loaded with controversy.
Watch what she says. The entire internet has reacted to this.
For the ticky-tack fouls that we were talking about earlier,
instantly igniting anger from fans and players alike, escalating the situation into a national headline overnight. But as explosive as this moment was, the real drama had just begun, because what happened next revealed something even more troubling: how far the league was willing to go to protect one of its biggest stars until they couldn't. And when fans realized what was unfolding behind closed doors, the backlash reached a whole new level.
If you want to get people never to watch the WNBA, this is an amazing way to do it. If the league is going to be rooted in this sort of nastiness with regard to its only real star.
The racist comment that went viral. Within hours, the clip of Griner mouthing the insult had spread like wildfire, dominating social media platforms and sparking heated discussions everywhere. Fans were stunned. Media outlets jumped on the story. And suddenly, this wasn't just another on-court incident, it was a scandal. The lip-reading consensus was nearly unanimous. Experts reviewed the video repeatedly, confirming that Griner's words were unmistakably aimed at Caitlin Clark's race. Public outrage intensified, not just because of what was said, but because of who said it. A player previously hailed as a symbol of resilience after her dramatic return from imprisonment abroad.
So many WNBA players hate Caitlin Clark so much when she is the best thing that could have happened to the league. And she's not the best thing that happened to the league because she's white.
As the video continued trending, debates erupted about double standards and whether the league would hold Griner accountable. Analysts, former players, and commentators weighed in, making the scandal impossible to ignore or dismiss as mere gossip. But as anger surged online, one question hung heavily in the air. Would the WNBA address this openly, or attempt damage control and hope the controversy would quietly fade away? And that's when the league made a decision that would make things even worse.
Now you tell me what it looks like Brittney Griner is saying here.
for the ticky-tack fouls that we were talking about earlier today.
WNBA's shocking silence. Instead of addressing the controversy head-on, the WNBA chose silence. A silence so deafening that fans quickly turned their frustration toward the league itself. Days went by without official statements, investigations, or consequences, fueling suspicion that the organization was deliberately protecting Brittney Griner. Social media exploded with accusations of favoritism and hypocrisy. Fans pointed out the league's swift reactions to previous controversies, highlighting the stark contrast with their sudden reluctance to address Griner's actions openly. Media outlets quickly picked up on this narrative, further amplifying public frustration. Griner's high-profile status and recent international ordeal seemed to grant her a level of immunity that fans and other players found increasingly intolerable. But the league's silence didn't quiet the storm. It intensified it. Sponsors began feeling pressure, fan trust started to erode, and suddenly the WNBA faced a crisis far bigger than one player's actions. Eventually, the pressure became impossible to ignore, forcing the league into a decision that no one saw coming. And the fallout was immediate, brutal, and career-altering.
And it doesn't take a lot of genius to lip read Brittney Griner, whose voice, by the way, is about as low as mine is, calling her trash and an effing white girl.
Financial fallout and brand collapse. When the WNBA finally took action, the consequences were swift and devastating. Griner didn't just face a suspension, she faced a full-scale financial collapse that extended far beyond her on-court earnings. Sponsors quickly distanced themselves, quietly pulling endorsement deals and canceling future engagements. Brands that once proudly featured Griner as a hero swiftly removed any association, realizing the controversy was too toxic to risk. Overnight, millions of dollars in endorsements evaporated, each withdrawn sponsorship amplifying the scandal's magnitude. The league's decision hit her where it hurt most, not just in her paycheck, but in her professional reputation. Griner, previously considered untouchable, suddenly found herself radioactive, a player companies couldn't afford to back. Her financial losses were staggering, but they were also symbolic. Every canceled contract and every lost dollar wasn't just about money, it was about accountability. Griner had finally crossed a line that her status couldn't protect her from, and the price was brutally high. But as the dust settled on her financial ruin, a deeper truth began to emerge. This wasn't just about a single insult. It was about a pattern, a history of behavior the league could no longer ignore.
Now, of course, if Caitlin Clark had ever suggested the same in reverse, using black as opposed to white in that sentence, that'd be the end of her WNBA career.
A troubling history finally exposed. Brittney Griner's downfall wasn't an isolated event. It was the final tipping point in a troubling pattern the league had quietly tolerated for far too long. Before this controversy erupted, Griner had already sparked backlash by openly complaining about enthusiastic fans who ironically paid to see her play. Her outspoken criticism of the same people who supported her created a simmering tension within the WNBA's fan base. Then came her highly publicized return from international imprisonment, a return made possible through a high-stakes prisoner exchange that cost the U.S. government dearly. Yet, instead of gratitude, Griner's actions seemed to reflect entitlement, arrogance, and an increasing detachment from the public who rallied behind her. This latest incident wasn't just a lapse of judgment, it was the climax of years of unchecked behavior. Critics argued that Griner had grown too comfortable, protected by league leadership that valued her star power above accountability. Now, with her racist comments exposed to millions, all those past controversies came flooding back into public view. Fans finally saw clearly. This wasn't just about what happened on the court, it was about a culture of special treatment, entitlement, and arrogance. But as Griner's troubling past unraveled before everyone's eyes, another player emerged quietly, one who had handled the controversy with maturity and grace, solidifying her own legacy as the new face of the WNBA.
Like this loud rumbling from the stands. Turns out it's people, thousands of them, just sitting there, watching on purpose. It's very disruptive. It's called the freaking game that they pay you money to play. Don't play the game.
Caitlin Clark's quiet triumph. While Griner's controversy dominated headlines, Caitlin Clark responded in a way that earned admiration and respect across the sports world by saying nothing at all. Instead of publicly confronting Griner or making statements to fuel the fire, Clark remained composed, focused entirely on basketball and her team's success. Her silence spoke volumes, showcasing maturity and professionalism that stood in stark contrast to the chaos surrounding Griner. As fans debated Griner's punishment, they increasingly rallied around Clark, not just as a player, but as a symbol of resilience in the face of hostility. Sponsors noticed too, recognizing that Clark represented the kind of athlete they wanted associated with their brands: talented, respectful, and controversy-free. Clark's reputation soared, and her quiet strength inadvertently highlighted everything Griner was not: humble, composed, and genuinely appreciative of her fans and teammates. In the end, Griner's attempt to tear Clark down only elevated her further. Clark didn't just weather the storm, she came out stronger, leaving the WNBA no choice but to reconsider who truly deserved their protection. And that realization pushed the league into a decision they'd avoided for years, setting a powerful precedent that could reshape the entire future of women's basketball.
There's always consequence to actions. What I did, I already know that I was going to get, some time for that. And, I respect, I got 3 games. Okay. Not disputing that at all.
The league forced to act. After weeks of silence and mounting pressure, the WNBA finally reached a breaking point. It wasn't morality or a sudden change of heart that forced their hand. It was the undeniable economic reality. Sponsors, feeling the heat from furious fans, started backing away from the league itself. Television partners, wary of being associated with controversy and accusations of racial bias, began reconsidering lucrative deals. Suddenly, the financial stakes became painfully clear. Protecting Griner was becoming far more expensive than punishing her. Realizing their reputation and revenue were now on the line, league executives scrambled into action. Using previously overlooked clauses buried deep within player contracts, the WNBA imposed a suspension that sent shockwaves throughout basketball circles. This decision was unprecedented, signaling to every player in the league that star power no longer guaranteed immunity. For the first time, the WNBA publicly chose accountability over favoritism, and Griner was left to bear the full weight of her actions. But while fans celebrated this rare moment of justice, many couldn't help wondering, was this a genuine shift in league values, or just another calculated move driven solely by money? The answer would define the league's credibility for years to come, and the stakes had never been higher.
Do I think that it should have been 3 across the board? Boom, everybody involved in it, 3-3-3. I think that would have been honestly fair. I would have been happy today with that.
Impact and future of the league. The suspension didn't just affect Brittney Griner, it sent a powerful ripple throughout the entire WNBA, redefining what accountability would look like from now on. Players who once assumed their star status would protect them from consequences suddenly found themselves reconsidering their behavior, knowing the league's tolerance had clear limits. Coaches and team executives were forced to reassess how they managed difficult but valuable players, understanding that problematic actions could no longer be quietly dismissed. This shift could dramatically improve the league's reputation, attracting sponsors and fans who value fairness, accountability, and genuine sportsmanship. But skeptics remained cautious, questioning whether this marked a genuine turning point or if it was simply a one-time exception made under extraordinary pressure. The true test would come in the weeks and months ahead. Would the WNBA consistently uphold this standard of accountability, or would favoritism once again creep back into their decisions? The outcome mattered more than ever, with women's basketball finally gaining mainstream traction, thanks largely to stars like Caitlin Clark. The league couldn't afford more controversies or accusations of bias. One thing was clear: Brittney Griner's downfall had unintentionally opened a door for lasting change. Whether the WNBA would step through it or retreat to old habits would shape its future for years to come.
Right now, she's talking to the refs about holding. We're going to send it back to you guys.
Impact and future of the league. The suspension didn't just affect Brittney Griner, it sent a powerful ripple throughout the entire WNBA, redefining what accountability would look like from now on. Players who once assumed their star status would protect them from consequences suddenly found themselves reconsidering their behavior, knowing the league's tolerance had clear limits. Coaches and team executives were forced to reassess how they managed difficult but valuable players, understanding that problematic actions could no longer be quietly dismissed. This shift could dramatically improve the league's reputation, attracting sponsors and fans who value fairness, accountability, and genuine sportsmanship. But skeptics remained cautious, questioning whether this marked a genuine turning point or if it was simply a one-time exception made under extraordinary pressure. The true test would come in the weeks and months ahead. Would the WNBA consistently uphold this standard of accountability, or would favoritism once again creep back into their decisions? The outcome mattered more than ever, with women's basketball finally gaining mainstream traction, thanks largely to stars like Caitlin Clark. The league couldn't afford more controversies or accusations of bias. One thing was clear: Brittney Griner's downfall had unintentionally opened a door for lasting change. Whether the WNBA would step through it or retreat to old habits would shape its future for years to come. A moment of justice. In the end, Brittney Griner's suspension was far more than just punishment for a single incident. It marked a critical turning point for the WNBA and its future. Her actions and the league's delayed response exposed a deeper problem, a system where star power often outweighed accountability. But this controversy proved one undeniable truth: no matter how protected a player might seem, actions always have consequences. Griner learned this the hard way, losing not just money, but something far more valuable: her reputation, legacy, and the respect of fans across the world. For Caitlin Clark, it meant justice finally arrived, allowing her to focus on what she does best: elevating women's basketball without the weight of controversy overshadowing her career. And for the WNBA itself, this moment posed a critical choice: either genuinely embrace accountability and fairness, or risk permanently alienating fans and sponsors. The decision they made could set the tone for the league's future, determining whether women's basketball continues to rise or falls victim to its own past mistakes. One thing is certain: the days of ignoring toxic behavior in favor of star power may finally be over. And whether Brittney Griner returns or fades away, this lesson lesson remains clear. Karma may be delayed, but eventually it always arrives. So what do you think? Did the WNBA finally get it right? Let us know in the comments. Hit that like button if you believe justice was served, and don't forget to subscribe for more moments like this.